Here are Ark Invest's lasted thoughts about Tesla after the Investor Day. Despite mixed reviews of Tesla's Investor Day last week, Ark's Tasha and Sam found no shortage of important and exciting news. While many investors expected a flashy glimpse of its next-generation vehicle, we believe Tesla shared news more profound than a product prototype. This right here is making it sound like they did not expect a new vehicle to be announced. If you watched this interview, it was very clear that Ark Invest was expecting a robotaxi to come out.
March 1st, I think Tesla's going to announce a vehicle that'll, they'll claim they're going to be able to produce for half the cost.
You think they're going to announce a car?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've definitely indicated that they're likely to.
Wow.
So I think it'll be a new model that, will be very economical and tuned to be a robotaxi.
To me, it appears that Ark Invest is backtracking, or at least downplaying their earlier prediction of an unveiling of a robotaxi on March 1st. And look, I like Ark Invest, but here they did miss. News more profound than a product prototype. The roadmap for continuous cost declines associated with scaling production. But that take does make sense. I mean, anyone can show us a prototype and maybe even make it work in limited conditions if it's built a certain way, but Tesla has been saying we want to reduce the cost by 50%. And just unveiling a prototype does not prove that they have reduced the cost by 50%. We still want to see the numbers. And so here they showed us the numbers. Most of them, or many of them, at least. In our view, Tesla is likely to deliver on interdependent actions that should reduce vehicle costs by 50% during the next 5 years. First, it will produce 100% of the controllers on its next-generation vehicles. Currently, Tesla is at 61%. Second, it will switch to a 48-volt battery architecture that should reduce power losses by 16-fold, which also drops copper usage by 4 times and makes the car lighter, so then the car gets a little bit more range. It makes the car a little bit faster. It's a compound effect. Third, it will use local Ethernet connected controllers to reduce the complexity of the wiring harness. That's one of the things that Sandy raved about. He says that when you do that, maybe it doesn't make much of a difference on a daily basis while driving, how long it takes for information to get from one point to another, but in a crash, even just at tiniest difference makes a huge improvement in, for example, safety. If you have to adjust the tension of a seatbelt, this could make a difference. And if a crash is really bad, it could result in a difference where you walk away from a crash without any injuries instead of going to a hospital. These electrical architecture changes should cut costs and give Tesla more control over its supply chain and the component level. And this, I think, was the biggest obvious takeaway for many people. They also will enable Tesla to transition its manufacturing to a parallel assembly process, slashing its manufacturing footprint and wasted time by 40% and 30% respectively. And this is where Ark Invest points out something that most people are not really talking about. But I also saw someone talk about this, and I think they got this whole thing wrong. So let me explain the whole thing. By reducing its factory footprint, Tesla will be able to accelerate gigafactory production, increasing the scaling velocity of both its fleet and its data engine. Tesla's fleet currently drives more than 120 million miles per day. And this is where I think Ark Invest made a typo. Because if you read this, then it sounds like Tesla vehicles drive 100 million miles per day on FSD. And you could make that argument if you say that it is running in shadow mode. So it's collecting all of the data and then it uses all that data to improve itself. Maybe you could say that, but definitely not everyone is driving in full self-driving mode. Every person that I know, most of their driving is done without full self-driving, with very few exceptions. Not to mention that most people do not have full self-driving, so there's no way this would be a number of miles driven per day in full self-driving. But Ark Invest actually put a link to these things, and here they are linking to this slide from Investor Day, 123 miles driven per day, million miles. And for FSD, they link to Q4 earnings report, which would indicate that Tesla has reached about 100 million miles total on FSD beta, cumulative miles. I saw some people getting excited that Tesla does 100 million miles per day on FSD. No, that's not the case yet. It will later, I believe, but not yet. And this is where they give a comparison that no one is really talking about. After the Investor Day, in contrast, Cruise and Waymo each has attained 1 million miles driven cumulatively with no one behind the wheel on public roads. While not a perfect comparison, of course, relative to its autonomous driving competition, Tesla vehicles have traveled 100x the cumulative miles and have collected 50,000x the data. According to our research, data will be critical in the race to create and scale a fully autonomous taxi service. Kathy Wood on TV just recently, about a week or 2 weeks ago, said that it's even more important to have data when it comes to AI development than she previously thought. In short, Tesla's vertical integration seems to have given the company an edge that may take its less integrated competitors years, if ever, I like that, to replicate. Don't be fooled by tepid reviews. So even though Ark Invest is downplaying its earlier expectations for the Investor Day, or maybe the analysts at Ark Invest are just not communicating well enough with each other. And Brett Winton from Ark Invest is Ark Invest's chief futurist. So I would imagine he was speaking certainly for all of Ark Invest. But despite all of that, Ark Invest has just bought $12.6 million worth of Tesla stock. They are just as bullish as before. Since the Investor Day, Tesla stock dipped about 10% so far. And I fully agree with Alexandra here, saying that it is very bullish, as it shows that they wanted to use the slightest dip below 10% in ARKK to buy more. Even though there was no robotaxi unveiled at the Investor Day, Ark Invest is still just as bullish. And this is the Tesla stock buying opportunity explained by Elon Musk. My name is Matt Posius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.